Last time in this series, I went back and looked at the 2016 season and how it would have played out had we used the modern playoff format. Well, originally this was supposed to be a 13-part series covering 2004 to 2016, but after popular demand, I've decided to travel back in time and cover as many years as I can before I run out of usable data for it. So remember, this is just a hypothetical scenario. I know they would have raced differently had this playoff format been in place, but it's just for fun. So let's see the 16 drivers who would make up the 2003 playoff grid. Starting off, the Daytona 500 champion, Michael Waltrip, would be the first to make it in. Next up would be Dale Jarrett, who would score a victory at the Rock. Matt Kenseth's lone victory at Las Vegas sealed him into the dance. Bobby Labonte made it in with his win in Atlanta. In the closest finish in NASCAR history, Ricky Craven made the playoffs as a wild card. Kurt Busch made the big show with wins at Bristol twice, Fontana, and Michigan. Ryan Newman punched his ticket in with his victories, winning at Texas, Dover, Chicagoland, Pocono, Michigan, and Richmond in the fall. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s fourth straight win at Talladega entered him in as well. Jeff Gordon was next to make it in, with a win at Martinsville. Joe Nemechek won at Richmond, and that got him in the grid. Jimmie Johnson was the third Hendrick driver to jump into the big show after winning a rain-shortened Coke 600 at Lowe's, as well as a race at New Hampshire. Tony Stewart made it in, with winning the June Pocono race. Robbie Gordon's sweeping of the Cup Circuit's road course races swept him into a championship chance as well. Greg Biffle's chance that he took on fuel at Daytona gave him the opportunity to be the only rookie in the playoffs. Kevin Harvick added to his great season and the playoffs by winning at the Brickyard. And last but not least, the final driver to make the playoffs off wins would be Terry Labonte, winning the 2003 Southern 500 and locking in the fourth and final Hendrick team. Now, with 16 drivers locking themselves in due to wins, it meant that no drivers would make the playoffs due to points in 2003. So entering the 10-race playoffs, the grid would look like this. At the first race at New Hampshire, it would set the tone for round one. Greg Biffle followed the race early with engine issues, and Dale Jarrett crashed. Ricky Craven finished 9 laps down. Struggling runs from Michael Waltrip, Robbie and Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and Terry Labonte all kept the cutoff line pretty close afterwards. Meanwhile, Jimmie Johnson sealed himself into advancement with a victory. Leaving New Hampshire, the grid would look like this. The next race would be at Dover. Ryan Newman's 7th win of the season got him into the round of 12. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick's 4th place run was enough to get him in the next round off points alone. Joe Nemechek would be the first of many title drivers to have a bad run, crashing in stage 1. Michael Waltrip and Ricky Craven were both retired with engine issues, putting them both behind the cut line heading into Talladega as well. Meanwhile, title favorites like Kurt Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. also retired early. The playoff cutoff would shape up like this heading into the wild card of Talladega. At Talladega, the racing was nothing short of crazy. Ricky Craven's 31-point gap would be difficult to make up on a normal weekend, and even with an 8th place run, he couldn't get the job done. After falling and finishing a lap down, Greg Biffle wouldn't be able to muster up a charge that would get him in the chase, and he fell out of the playoffs after that. The same could be said for Dale Jarrett's 19th place finish. But with Michael Waltrip pulling off a clutch victory, it meant that one of the top 12 previous drivers would fall out. Gordon Jr., Kenseth, and Stewart all were too far ahead to fall out, regardless of running order. Kurt Busch, Bobby Labonte, Robbie Gordon, they all ran up front as well. This left Hendrick teammates Terry Labonte and Joe Nemechek to fight it out. And Labonte prevailed, with stage points and a 22nd place limp home. Entering the round of 12, the grid reset again. Kansas opened up the round, and once again, Ryan Newman immediately locked himself into the next round with his 8th victory of 2003. Meanwhile, crashes from Michael Waltrip and Matt Kenseth, along with Kurt Busch's engine issues, cluttered the group below the cut line. A tightened grid heading to Lowe's had more of a desperate look and feel to it than before. At Lowe's, fan favorite Tony Stewart dominated en route to a victory and passing on to the next round. Kurt Busch, on the other hand, was put into a must-win scenario heading to Martinsville with a crash, and Robbie Gordon's 38th place finish plunged him further down. Leaving for Martinsville, Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon both were locked in into the round of 8 by points. The grid shaped up like this. Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Bobby Labonte all were far enough ahead that they looked to be locked in. Meanwhile, Kurt Busch's snake-bitten streak continued as he had more engine issues, ending his day and his title fight. Michael Waltrip and Robbie Gordon both finished well down the charts and ended their championship aspirations as well. The fight for the final spot came down to apparently Matt Kenseth and Terry Labonte. Labonte entered trailing Kenseth by 8 points, and he edged him out by 12 due to finishing 6th and getting stage points. Kenseth would end up losing in a tiebreaker to Terry's brother Bobby, who had a higher best finish in the round of 12. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon winning would reset the grid again going into the round of 8, giving him more bonus points. In Atlanta, Terry's luck looked to be used up as he finished 33rd, and in a strange mistake by Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Newman lost a huge chunk of points with a backstretch wreck at the end of the race. Meanwhile, up front, Jeff Gordon was the first to lock in a Final Four spot with back-to-back victories, leaving the rest of the grid to fight for 3 spots. The next week at Phoenix, another would be locked into the championship round, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Behind him was where it got interesting. Jimmie Johnson, Tony Stewart, and Ryan Newman all pulled away as JJ finished 2nd, Newman 3rd, and Stewart 18th, but he also had some stage points. This made the grid tight heading into Rockingham. The Labontes and Harvick were too far back to make up points, and since Bill Elliott, a non-playoff driver, won it, it meant that they were out. Jimmie Johnson's 2nd-place finish moved him on to the Final Four as well, leaving Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman to fight it out. They were only entering a point apart into this race, and it seemed like there could be intrigue to this battle all day. But Newman beat Stewart's 9th-place finish with a 5th, and Stewart getting no stage points meant that Ryan Newman would join the 3 Chevy drivers in Miami. The Final Four of 2003 would be Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmie Johnson, and Ryan Newman. The first to be eliminated for good was Ryan Newman.
We may have 3 groves here.
3 wide, here comes Kevin Harvick under Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch. Oh, look out, trouble! In the wall, Kurt Busch and Newman.
And the 29 car, Kevin Harvick, broke loose there.
Ryan Newman looks like his day is over. A lot of damage to that car.
Dale Jr. also wasn't crashed, but he wasn't competitive. He finished 2 laps down in 24th. This left the championship to come down to the Hendrick drivers of Jeff Gordon and Jimmie Johnson. The two swapped the title lead all race, but it was clear that the Blue 48 had a better of the 2 cars. This pass, with 42 laps to go, ended up being the championship winner.
Shot of contention for the day. Harvick sliding down through the grass, avoiding the spinning and crashing cars around him. And it's gotten back into contention for a good finish.
Jimmie Johnson would be the 2003 NASCAR Winston Cup Series playoff champion. The Final Four of 2003 won 16 of the 36 races. The playoff grid as a whole won 35 of the 36 races. The only one they didn't win was that second-to-last race at Rockingham that Bill Elliott won. Of the 16 teams, 10 were Chevrolets, 4 were Fords, and then they were joined by a lone Dodge and a lone Pontiac. The real-life champion, Matt Kenseth, would finish 7th in this parallel universe. Now, with all of this, I want to know what you think about it. So let me know down in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to my channel for some more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.